Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also of RT's talk show, Crosstalk. Well, the other day, Tuesday to be exact, a very strange thing happened. The New York Times dropped a story alleging that Congressman Matt Gaetz, who had basically become very famous during the past 2 years, during the travails of President Trump, with Gaetz being one of his staunchest defenders in the two impeachment hearings. Well, anyway, Congressman Matt Gaetz, according to the New York Times, was being investigated by the Department of Justice for sex trafficking involving a minor. The minor was 17 years old, but that was the story in the New York Times. Subsequent to that, Congressman Gaetz appeared on Tucker Carlson's show, in which he said, well, all of this is part of an extortion scheme in which people are seeking to extract $25 million from my family. He said that his family, especially particularly his father, who had been a prominent Republican politician locally in Florida, that his father had met various people who were involved in this extortion scheme. He was wearing a wire during these meetings, and that this was all being done in collusion with the FBI. The FBI knew about this extortion investigation. So this is all very strange and very confusing. However, during the past 2 days, a number of things have emerged that actually give credence to Gaetz' story, because now we learn that there had been indeed messages involving two people who apparently were speaking on behalf of the family of Robert Levinson. I don't know whether people remember Robert Levinson. He was a former FBI agent who had been sent apparently by the CIA to spy on Iran. A long time ago, it was around 2007. He vanished. Don't know what happened to him. So the US government has continually brought up the subject. Where's Levinson? Where's Levinson? And then last year, it actually concluded, this was 2020, that Levinson was dead, which is always quite likely. I mean, spying is a dangerous business, and often they come to a no good end. But anyway, these two people apparently had heard of this DOJ investigation of Gaetz and had approached Gaetz' father, saying that if he put up some money for a further investigation into Levinson, then things could be very nice for Gaetz. The case could disappear, or maybe the Biden administration could give Gaetz a pardon. So that is what we've learned so far. The attorney, maybe Gaetz named specifically an attorney who was behind all of this extortion. His name is, I think, David McGee. Apparently quite a prominent attorney now in Florida. He had been a prosecutor, worked for the Department of Justice, and he serves as an attorney on behalf of the Levinson family. He was a friend of Levinson's. Now, McGee kind of denies the extortion, says, oh, it's all a smokescreen. But nonetheless, there does seem to be some evidence for an extortion scheme here. Whether that's provable in court or not, I mean, it clearly, Gaetz was talking about something like that. So, I mean, just to wrap it up. So there's that aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, why did the New York Times rush out a story about Gaetz being under investigation? There was this is a serious business. It's smearing a person. There are no charges pending. So, by saying he's under investigation for this underage girl, and you have to ask, where is this underage girl? I mean, the days have passed. Who is she? What's her name? Where is she? So Okay, there's a lot to chew on there. What's your take, Peter?
Yeah, well, because it's so damn confusing. I
Right.
mean, I think that, where the word extortion is being misappropriated here, it looks like they were looking for a bribe for a favor.
Right.
Okay, that's one thing. The more I think about it, to be honest with you, is I think there are two separate stories
There are
going
two
on
separate
here,
stories. Yes.
and the only reason why you and I were talking about it before is that his appearance on Tucker Carlson, and his appearance was so damn confusing and muddled. And this is not the Gaetz that we all know. Okay, love or hate. Okay,
Yes.
I mean, he's a firebrand, quote unquote, and he's always on message. He was very off message. It was very deftone. And to be honest with you, George, he hurt himself very badly by trying to ask basically a demand cover from Tucker, and Tucker was bewildered by that. He did it twice.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now, for a guy that's always on point and is very clear, it seemed to me, and we're getting more information, is that he's fused the two stories together, which I think they could be very, very separate things. Is he trying to, the extortion bribery side, to try to divert attention from an investigation of an alleged girl he says doesn't exist?
Right. But that's it. The connection, no, you're right. I mean, the connection between the two stories is that apparently all these people had heard of this DOJ investigation. That's why they approached Gates's father. That at least certainly seems credible. I mean, because clearly meetings took place. I mean, there was a record of messages between these people and Gates's father. So again, a very troubling aspect as to why exactly is the DOJ blabbing about an investigation. It's just an ongoing investigation. So
they didn't do a lot of blabbing about Hunter, did they?
No, quite. You took the words out of my mouth. Exactly. Remember how? Oh boy, did they know how to keep their lips sealed on the Hunter Biden thing? For a whole year, nothing. Not for a whole year. When Bill Barr said, "Oh, well, we kept all of this silent during the election." When this was an issue in the election, they kept silent about it.
What seems kind of interesting to me about this leak, I think that's no coincidence here, is it seems to me with the limited information that we have, is that they no longer wanted to give Gaetz the ability to control the story. They got ahead and now they want to set the narrative, okay, right, which obviously hurts him and hurts him badly. Yes. I mean, that appearance on Tucker was the talk of the town, and it did not go well whatsoever. And so his lack of clarity and it seems to me, his intentional commingling of these two stories is very disturbing. Now, trying to extort or try to get someone to invest in the Levinson story, that is really weird, okay? I mean, it's kind of like, it wasn't like in the 1970s, they're asking people to go around the FBI and the CIA to get MIAs and prisoners out of Southeast Asia. Remember that? Remember that whole thing? And prominent, and there was some Hollywood people involved in that. It's a long time ago. I don't remember the details.
Right. No, that's a very good point. However, the Levinson thing is kind of interesting because if you remember, Levinson had a small bit part in the in Russiagate, because as it turned out, Robert Mueller, who then was the head of the FBI, had apparently approached Oleg Deripaska, who was supposedly, again, involved with Paul Manafort. So way back then, he approached Deripaska, who's this big guy in Russian aluminum. I forgot the name of the Russian company.
Rusal.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So he approached him to use his money, his Deripaska's money.
And he did.
Yeah, he did. He did to get Levinson. It was always a puzzling thing. Why would he have any ability to get Levinson out? But as you say, he actually did it. So Mueller had was this again a kind of a conflict of interest, since he was investigating this, but Mueller had himself been involved in this. So again, it's not it seems a strange kind of coincidence. Once again, the FBI is involved in this Levinson business.
It's not the FBI of the night of the TV show, is it?
No, it is not. No, no Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. here.
If we could just put a sidebar on it on this story here, Deripaska later was sanctioned after he tried to help. Right. Then they turn around and slap sanctions on him. I mean, they say, I tried to help you, put my own money out there, and then you turn around and you sanction me, okay? Because you got caught up in the Russiagate thing. Right. Now, what the interesting thing about the Gaetz story is that he's extremely vulnerable because he's extremely disliked in Washington, okay? That's why we haven't heard anyone come out on his behalf. He doesn't have a rapid reaction team that all these other guys do, you know, to get through the news cycle, switch and bait and everything. He left himself very vulnerable. He is innocent until proven guilty. And that's why I felt that he was, he had a very disappointing appearance on Tucker. And one thing that Matt Gaetz is learning, I don't want to get real wonky with everyone here, but I'm a big fan of Max Weber and his theory of charisma. Matt, charisma is not transferable, okay? You cannot take the charisma of Trump, okay? You can get maybe a lingering glow, but you can't have the real deal because it only belongs to one person, and it's always been that way, okay? Right. So, I mean, obviously he's made himself a target. No one in the Republican Party I can really think of, I mean, honestly, would really care if he went down in flames, okay?
No, I think that's true, that the only Republican that at the moment that I've seen who have come out unambiguously for him is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who herself is kind of rather ostracized within the Republican Party. I mean, I think Jim Jordan has also come out in support of him. Well, but that's an interesting case because Jim Jordan was self-smeared about 2 years ago with stories that when he was a wrestling coach at Ohio State University, there were allegations of sexual harassment of wrestlers. He himself was not accused of sexual harassment, but that he had turned a blind eye to this, to what was going on. But there was never any evidence for this, and the story just vanished. But nonetheless, you do get a sense that these Republicans, high-profile Republicans, they are always targeted. So that's why, I mean, look, I want to think the best of Gaetz. I mean, I think he's been a good, a stalwart player. I mean, I think the impeachment stuff was a complete nonsense, and it was good that there was somebody fighting so fiercely. So at the moment, I mean, I just don't see any evidence as yet, damning evidence against Gaetz. And the New York Times, I think, has behaved disgracefully. I mean, they ran with a story without anything to back it up.
Obviously a smear campaign, okay? Obviously. But again, I want to go back. Look, the story breaks in the New York Times. Either Gaetz or one of his handlers, they thought we need to take care of this now. They called someone at Tucker Carlson, and Tucker, well, fine, I mean, first of all, it was the first time that Gaetz had addressed it. Prime time, 8 o'clock in the United States in the evening. Tucker gave him a lot of time, okay? But, it didn't go well. And it's something that, he might not recover from, because a smear, it sticks in the minds of a lot of people, particularly for Republicans. Now, let's be honest, let's put all our cards on the table here. Gaetz is a single man. Apparently, he just proposed to a young woman to get married. Bit of a ladies' man. He doesn't deny that. He doesn't deny his generosity. But I mean, now that the story is broken, it's incumbent for his reputation. Well, who is this 17-year-old girl?
Well, that's it. But the onus is on those who are doing the accusation. I mean, the people. I mean, again, the New York Times that ran with the story then should have named the young woman. I don't know whether she's still 17, but should have named her. I mean, basically they say, they're looking into this young woman who's 17, and the issue is, she traveled across state lines and he paid for a hotel and whatever.
Yeah, but no. One more or two more layers deep. Miss So-and-so, we'll call her Miss Smith, on January the 1st traveled from Atlanta, Georgia to Memphis, Tennessee. okay? And the young lady stayed with the congressman in a Holiday Inn on this street at this time. No, I want more detail. You don't have to release her name.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's exactly right. So, so the way this is being presented is that Gaetz has to prove his innocence. Well, you first of all, I mean, you first of all have got to substantiate this charge. Don't just throw out, 17-year-old, and that he was paying for her fare and paying for her hotel bills, and she was a minor, and she was traveling across state lines. You want specifics. You can't just throw this out and then now prove your innocence. Tell us that you didn't do this. Give us your diary, for all of your movements for the past 2 years or whatever.
Anyone watching the gaggle, George and I have been saying this nonstop. They will go after anyone in Trump's orbit, okay? And what we've seen for the last few years, these people in the DOJ and the FBI, they're not the guys we saw on TV in the 1970s, okay? They're highly politicized, okay? They're putting vast resources into prosecuting the poor people that were involved in the riot on January 6th, okay? It's no surprise that they get someone that is so prominent in the Trump orbit,
yes,
to try to smear and damage his reputation, okay? Until then, I will reserve any kind of conclusion. We have innuendos, we have rumors, we have anonymous sources, the same old script.
It is the same old script. So as things stand, the evidence, what evidence there is damning to the other side. I mean, again, we don't yet know whether it rises to the level of extortion, but there was clearly some attempt made to extract money from the Gaetz' family. What this is all about, we don't know, but there seems to be quite a lot of evidence of that, at least, and that there were people involved in it who had themselves had ties to the Justice Department.
Yeah, I mean, this is a quid pro quo, okay? Like, cough up some dough and your son's problems go away.
Yes.
Okay, well, we need to know all the people that were on that side of the potential transaction. I mean, Matt Gaetz did say that in his mind, at least, the story was made public a day before the first quote unquote installment
payment. That's right.
Yes. So I don't know. We don't know if that is meaningful. Seems like a very odd coincidence, to say the least here.
Right.
We need a lot more information. We need a lot more transparency. And I can understand. I mean, he tried to pull Tucker into his travails, well, you know what I mean. And yes, there was a woman about 20 years ago that in a very vicious way claimed that Tucker Carlson had sexually harassed her or assaulted her. I don't remember what the specific claim was at the time. And he had to fight very hard. It was completely baseless. Right. This was a fanatic that observed Tucker, knew a lot about his life. And it was scary for him. Okay, right. So I mean, but that appearance on his program had nothing to do with Tucker Carlson, and I thought that Matt Gaetz really misstepped on that one. It made me angry personally.
No, I think yeah, he did. I think that he handled it poorly. To be fair, there was a lot going on, and Gaetz may not himself know exactly what's going on. I mean, it's his father who's involved in whatever negotiations are taking place. I mean, it's involving his father. So, he may just not know exactly all the ramifications. If you don't know, it's best really to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah,
and then you kind of risk the danger of making a fool of yourself. The
interesting thing is that just before the breaking of this story, he was never out of character. I mean, he went up to Wyoming, Liz Cheney and all that. So it may be in his mind, as this was going on, is it is two separate stories. Right. And this is there are people involved around his father. And so maybe he just thought this is something completely different. My question to him is that did you intentionally or accidentally commingle the stories?
Right. No, I think that's a very good point. I mean, the two stories, the connection between the two stories is that these characters who approached his father seem to know all about this DOJ investigation of Gates, which is very strange. I mean, investigations are supposed to be, particularly it's just an investigation. It's not even,
He's the
they're not even
subject.
bringing any charges. They're just
He's the
investigating.
subject. He's not the target, and that's what we're being told.
Exactly. And it all seems to be peripherally involved with some other person that they're investigating, Joe Greenberg. And again, there seems to be some kind of a tie between Greenberg and Gates. But again, that's just simply a tie. You don't become guilty of something just because you have business or dealings with somebody else who has unfortunate tendencies.
It looks like a smear by association, doesn't it? That's exactly what it looks like. I'm with you. I mean, I don't understand the stories very well. We're not given enough information.
We don't know.
Obviously, the intention is to damage the character of Matt Gaetz, irrespective if you like him or not. We've been through this here so much. I mean, Paul Manafort, was he a choir boy, an upstanding guy in the community? Probably not. Okay, pretty dirty guy, but he deserved to be treated equally and fairly under the law. Okay, and that's always our position here. Always that. I mean, for God's sake, Charles Manson got a trial.
Yes. That. That's exactly right. That's right. Yeah. It's very funny. I mean, speaking of Charles Manson, that for people who remember it way back when, Richard Nixon, the president at the time, during the trial of Manson, had said something like, Manson is guilty of 8 murders. And then this was a huge uproar, because this was, as you said, the newspaper, Manson triumphantly showed, hey, look, how can I possibly get a fair trial?
To the jury.
Yeah, exactly. And but the funny thing is that by now, this is now standard operating procedure. I mean, how many people have said Derek Chauvin is guilty of everything? No one really cares about this anymore. Night after night. And this is even on Sean Hannity. He has this guy, Greg Jarrett, who's always wrong about everything. He got every single thing about Russiagate wrong, but he's there night after night to say, boy, this guy Chauvin, he's guilty as charged. Boom, he's going down.
You remember the first one he did on the first day of the trial or the day before the trial? I mean, what he said, I just thought, well, Greg, there's no reason for you to show up again. You're done on this story.
No.
Remember that? Yeah. Hannity was like, his eyes were going to pop out of his head. No, I mean, just talking on that trial, Laura Ingraham is doing a very good job. She has Dershowitz and another prosecutor.
I agree. That's a very sober analysis, because they're doing exactly the proper analysis. In other words, what are the crucial questions that the jurors will have to decide, and how well have the prosecutors made their case on those 2 crucial questions, which is exactly the kind of legal analysis you want, and not just hysteria about, oh my God, he had his knee on his neck. I mean, that doesn't get it.
The jury will watch the video. It's over. Okay, with this whole story with Gaetz, I think that everyone should take a deep breath, take a step back. At this point in time, it seems to be a political smear. He's flying very close to the sun. A lot of people in the Republican Party don't like it because, well, he's very into Matt Gaetz, okay? And he didn't wait his turn in seniority. He spends more time on television than he does in the chamber of the House of Representatives. So there's nobody out there that's going to protect him here. So he's vulnerable, okay?
Oh, I think he's absolutely vulnerable. And particularly as the leadership of the Republican Party, and this is something we've talked about many times, is extraordinarily ineffectual. I mean, here we have the Biden administration, which is one fiasco after another. I mean, there are so many openings there for the Republicans, and amazingly, they're not taking any of them. I mean, whether it's the border, whether it's the disastrous foreign policy, now with this ridiculous infrastructure project,
that isn't
You know,
about infrastructure.
where's Kevin McCarthy? Where's Mitch McConnell? I mean, you know, you should be hitting it out of the ballpark at this stage.
Very broadly, you're absolutely right. Where are the Republicans?
Right.
Where are they? You know, they're all a bunch of cowards. They're cowards, these people. Okay. I have no words for how much I have disgust for these people. Okay. And Liz Cheney is number 3 in the party.
Exactly.
Say more.
I mean, number three in the leadership, and she votes to impeach the leader of the party. I mean, can you imagine that? You know, she's in the leadership, and she votes to impeach the leader of the party.
Okay, this is where we stand right now. So we're going to keep a laser-like
focus exactly on what's going on, and you know, this case is interesting. We're gonna have to find out more about it. All right, thank you, Peter. And we are on Rumble. Please look us up on Rumble. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.